Hey everybody, Derek here to bring you another video for The Walking Dead Season 5. And today's video is going to be about a prediction based on some of the things that I saw in episode 9 and what it might mean for the near future. If you recall, there was a message that was written in chalk uh, in the Shirewell Estates sidewalk, things like that, or it was like on a wall or something, and it said, "The wolves are near." And if you also remember, the walkers that fell out of the back of that truck had W's carved in their foreheads. And I'm going to show you the pictures right now. So if you pay attention to the screen, you should be seeing the first picture right here that basically says the wolves are near. And then right here coming up, you should see the walkers that have the W's on their foreheads. And it'll be returning back to me in just a second. Okay, so I have a prediction and a theory about this group that may play into where we're going in the story. So this is a spoiler video because this is going to be referring to comic book material that is coming in the near future that I think is going to happen in the show. So if you don't want to be spoiled, don't watch the video because you may be spoiled. Okay. Now, as we know from the synopsis, from episodes 11 and 12, and with the comic books in general, they're heading towards Washington, D.C. right now. They're going there. And as we know, in the comics, they meet up with a guy named Aaron. And Aaron basically, after, they get through the formalities of, oh, I don't know if we can trust this guy. Yeah, we can. Let's go. So they do eventually decide to trust Aaron and go to the Alexandria safe zone. And they get there. And when they're there, they get introduced to a guy named Douglas who runs the community. Who runs the community. And their question, they try to figure out what the best position they could be in. And they do, of course, make it to the Alexandria safe zone. Now, when they get there, a lot of things concern them, Rick's group. They start to realize that, Douglas and the rest of the people in the community really have not been exposed to the dangers that are out there in the world, you could say. When you're out there in the open, surviving day to day, trying to escape the walkers and the bandits and whatever's out there, they're not exposed to that. And one of the things that ends up happening in the comics is the community actually is attacked. So you could say. In volume 13, which is this one right here, it's called Too Far Gone, which of course is the season 4 episode 8 episode title. Something happens in this particular volume that makes me think about something that they're going to do in the comic book story, well, in the TV show storyline. Because what I think is going to happen is that by the time we get to like episode 12, they're going to make it into the community. And I think that you're going to see the group having a very big, difficult time adjusting into this community because they've been out there for so long. And, what I think is going to happen is you're going to have Rick being very distrustful of these people and not knowing if they're the people that should be placed in the leadership positions, to basically protect everybody. That's one of Rick's major issues with the community, is that he doesn't want somebody else who's inexperienced running the place, like Douglas. Douglas is he's a good guy, I think. He has good intentions, but ultimately he's willing to look the other way in some circumstances, like with the whole Pete Anderson issue. How he overlooked Pete Anderson beating his wife and child because of the fact that Pete was a doctor. And, he wanted to basically keep the community running for the greater good. But Rick realizes that the community is just open to being attacked at any point. There were no guards, no armed guards, which is why they put Andrea in the guard tower. And, because of that, they are saved. And I was thinking about it, and I'm going to turn to the page right now as I talk. But there is a point in the comics where the group is attacked by a group of people. They're really a bunch of scavengers. That's what they officially call them, like on the Walking Dead wiki page and in the story. They really don't have like a group name, and they're only in the comics for one or two issues, and that's it. And they are ironically led by a guy named Derek. And Derek is basically the leader of this group of scavengers. And in the comic, in this volume 13, they're basically going around, scavenging for supplies when they get surrounded by walkers. And what does Derek and the rest of the group do? They push one of their people out into the walkers to be fed, and then basically just go running off. So they aren't really the best of people. They're willing to sacrifice somebody in order for them to live. And what happens is eventually their group finds the Alexandria safe zone and they demand entrance. And if you'll look at this scene, I'm going to turn to the page. Look down here at the bottom. I'm going to put this a little bit closer to my screen here. And I don't know if you can read it, but it says, "Isn't that obvious? Little pig, let me in." And that, of course, right there is Derek, the leader of the group of scavengers. That's a little bit coincidental, or not, Granted, in the comics, there is another character, Negan, who enters the Alexandria safe zone using the same phrase. But I think that to change the name of the group of saviors to wolves would not be a good thing. You associate too much with the name the saviors. So they need to keep it that way. But, one of the things that I was thinking about with this, when he says that, that you could really make a different group out of these people. Because basically they are going around and not doing the best of things, and they're demanding to be let into the community by way of force. He basically, in that issue, he goes on to say, well, if you don't, we're going to, shoot you and come in anyway. So you're either letting us in or not. And, of course, Rick is not a very big fan of that. And I won't spoil what ends up happening there for you right now. If you want to read it, you may. Or you can just go on Walking Dead Wiki and see it. But they could obviously change it in the TV show. But here's what I think. Parallel the story of the Three Little Pigs, okay? Where the wolf, big bad wolf, is saying, little pig, let me in. And of course, the pigs are like, well, not by the hair of my chinny chin chin. And of course, the wolf is going to blow the house down. Well, he blows the house down of straw, and he blows the house down made of sticks, but the brick house stays standing. My thought process is that the wolves are a group of people that are still alive. That they did attack the Shirewell Estates group. And you could consider them like a house made of sticks or a house made of straw, where I don't think that they were really as prepared. As they were going up, like as Noah and the group were approaching the community walls, you really saw that, there were a lot of vulnerable spots. And Rick even asks, he's like, well, do you guys have spotters? And Noah's like, well, no, I mean, or maybe he said like there was maybe one or something like that in the truck or something weird like that. But I don't think that it was very prepared. And you notice that, similar to how the governor's people were able to surround the prison, because they really weren't overall prepared. They weren't keeping people in the guard towers at the time, but I guess in a sense they actually still were. It's just that the illness kind of put them down. So I guess I'll retract that statement. But I think that the wolves are basically like they're going to be attributed with this name of basically if you're not willing to cooperate with them, then they're going to tear down everything that you ever owned, anything that you have. So I think that might have been what happened at Shirewold Estates. There may be that the wolves, and they may be led by a guy named Derek, or it may be somebody different. The Walking Dead has changed things a lot. Gareth being leader of the hunters instead of Chris. I think that this group basically wanted either a place to live, supplies, or something else, that they wanted something. And similar to the Saviors, they're basically a type of people who say, we want things, and if you don't give them to us, then we're going to crush you. I don't think they're a big group, or if they are, they're nowhere near the size of the Saviors. But I think that they probably went to the Shirewold Estates, demanded either to let them men to live, or give them food, or give them weapons, or something else. And if they didn't, then they were in trouble, that they were going to basically do harm to them. And my assumption is that they decided not to help them, and they basically got attacked and killed. So I think that this is going to play big into the TV show, because we are going to the Alexandria Safe Zone. And my thought process is, realizing that this community probably is not going to be very fortified, kind of like in the comics, where Douglas or whoever's leading it is not very experienced with what's going on, similar to how it was in the comics. And as a result, I think that the group is going to get attacked by these people called the Wolves, in my opinion. I think that it's going to be the Wolves that attack them. And basically, the old phrase, little pig, let me in, I think is going to be used. And I think it definitely ties into this group of scavengers being the wolves in the TV show. And they're either going to want, supplies, they're going to want a place to live, or they're going to want, weapons, whatever they want. They may want something. And the group's going to be like, well, no, we ain't going to help you. Forget it. And I was thinking, there is a chance, and I've often debated, when they'll do the Pete Anderson story, or even if they will. I'm sure they will. I hope that they do. But I always thought about, what could happen there is Rick ends up beating or killing Pete Anderson, one or the other, and as a result, he does get locked away inside a room in order for Douglas to figure out what to do after he beats him up. He doesn't kill him. And I was thinking, well, what would happen if, Rick would beat up or kill Pete Anderson? They would lock him up, and then the wolves come, and they're like, hey, we want in. And everybody's like, oh, God, what do we do? Like, this has never happened to us before. Like, what are we supposed to do? Rick, help! And I often thought, that could be a way to tie things in. So I think there's a very good chance that these wolves may end up coming to the Alexandria Safe Zone, and of course Rick will save the day, or something along those lines. And as a result, people are going to realize, oh, we're not as prepared as we thought we were, which is what happens in the comics. Like, Douglas basically turns over leadership to Rick, says, hey, I realize I'm not cut out for this. And I thought that might happen here. Another thing I thought about, and I'll wrap this up real quick, is, again, spoiler warning, but for volume 14 of the comics, walkers end up invading the Alexandria Safe Zone. Now, that's because some of the fortifications were just weakening. But I always thought, well, what if the community does get attacked by these wolves? That it doesn't go as cleanly as it does in the comics. And that in the TV show, like, what if they have, like, a big grenade launcher or just something that would tear down walls, tear down gates? Because I think that they have that, because the gates along the walls at Shirewold Estates were torn off. So what if they have that capability of doing that, and as a result, they let walkers in? In Volume 14, walkers invade the Alexandria Safe Zone, and a lot of people die as a result of that. And I often thought, well, that could be a very good segue into that storyline, is that these wolves come and somehow or another the safety, like the wall, the perimeter of Alexandria Safe Zone comes crumbling down, and then walkers come in, and that's what basically results near the end of the season is them taking out the walkers. So that's my thought process about where we're going. I may be right, I may be wrong, but that really did catch on, and it really made me think about storylines they could use to end season 5, and I think that's a very, very good way of going about it, and they may do it. So that's all I have right now. Don't be afraid to comment or leave your questions. I'm definitely always interested in talking. Please share this video, especially because I think that this is a very good prediction. I think that this is something that a lot of people should hear about and think about if they want to hear about this. So please share this video if you can. Feel free to subscribe. I do have more videos coming. If you guys have any video topics that you would like me to do, don't be afraid to suggest them. Thank you all for watching, and I really hope that you have a good day. Thank you.